Rise up!
This is the Rise Up See Red podcast, all about the Arizona Cardinals and the NFL, featuring insider and outsider perspectives. Enjoy the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Now here are your hosts, Jess Root and Seth Cox.
Hello, Arizona Cardinals fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the Rise Up See Red podcast, the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. I'm your host, Jess Root from CardsWire.com, the USA Today NFL wire site that covers your Arizona Cardinals. Recording on a Tuesday night, episode 659. This is my co-host, Seth Cox from RevengeOfTheBirds.com. After we did one show last week, we're hitting the slower part. There's not as much to talk about, Seth, but my goodness, we're moving along. Next week is the schedule release. We just started phase 2 of the offseason program. We've got rookie minicamp this weekend. Things are moving along, but I mean, not much is happening, but things are moving along.
Yeah, I mean, we got, some undrafted free agents, and we got a bunch of odds, right? Like, I mean,
pretty much.
That's really it right now. But like you said, it's the wind down time, and it coincides, for you especially, but also, for us to be able to, in our, personal lives, wind down a little bit. So it's not a bad time of the year. It's just, it's a little bit slow.
Yeah, and there's not a ton to talk about, but we will give you this because we gave our draft review last week. We didn't touch on the undrafted rookies. There's usually not a lot to talk about undrafted rookies, but the Cardinals signed 6. It was wild because, the Cardinals the last couple 3 years have gone about it differently, and they will make sure to, rather than getting massive amounts of undrafted rookies or rookie free agents, they will fill their offseason roster with guys that have kicked around the league a year or two. It's like the year or two after the rookie free agents. And they just haven't had, they've had more draft picks, but like the 49ers and the Seahawks had double-digit draft picks, and then they go out and sign 17 rookie free agents. I remember those days. For the Cardinals, they would do that, and then they would have this big rookie mini camp with like 50 players and a whole bunch of tryout guys. And under Jonathan Gannon, they just haven't done that. They have a very scaled back. They might have 2 or 3 tryout players, and they do a really scaled back rookie mini camp just to kind of get them in the building and learning their program rather than doing the traditional thing that the Bruce Arians would do. But we've got 6 undrafted free agents, rookie free agents, to discuss. We'll look at some betting odds for the rookie awards and how that might or might not impact the Cardinals rookies. Definitely not offensive rookie of the year. And then we will talk about the one roster addition they made and possibilities of other guys that made start. So let's start with the undrafted rookies. There were 6 of them. Seth and I both on our sites over at Revenge of the Birds. Seth did them over the weekend. I think it was kind of after the draft last week. And I, over the last couple of days, profiled these undrafted rookies. There are at least 2 to know really moving forward, not necessarily for the team. Last year, like in the past few years, we've seen undrafted players have success. You go all the way back to 2013. You got Tony Jefferson. You've had guys like in 2018 in particular where they got Dennis Gardeck, Zeke Turner, and Trent Sherfield. Granted, we'll say that because 2018 was a god-awful team that they were able to do it. But those are guys that have had long NFL careers that are still in the NFL right now. Xavier Weaver last year made the squad. They've found somebody, but this year's roster is going to be really hard to crack. 6 undrafted rookies, some offensive linemen, 1 receiver. They've got a pair of offensive linemen, I'd say 3 offensive linemen, a receiver, a tight end, and a defensive tackle. 2 guys to note because I haven't seen all the contract numbers yet. They haven't hit, but I did see two of them get a decent amount of guaranteed salary this year, basically equating the practice squad. And that is, first off, Wisconsin receiver Bryson Green and Ohio State tackle Josh Fryer. And while they did not draft an Ohio State offensive lineman, this is what they did. They went out and got an Ohio State offensive lineman for Justin Fry. What is it about Fryer that is notable about this group?
I mean, you look at Fryer, he is a right tackle only. He has been healthy most of his career, which is I know people kind of it matters, right? Like you gotta be available to play. He's a big, sturdy, kind of plodding right tackle only type of guy. I mean, in today's NFL, I don't know how much of a spot there are for guys like Fryer, but he's big. Came in at 6'5", 320 pounds. He's reliable. And obviously is really, really good in the run game. I mean, excellent. And obviously Justin Fry will have some inside knowledge. I do wonder if he's a candidate to kind of kick inside, right? Like he's not an elite athlete. So is he a guy that can fill that Will Hernandez mauling right guard role? Again, fantastic run blocker, was kind of obviously not the most talented on the offensive line, but was the most reliable and consistent on that Ohio State offensive line the last 2 years. Obviously, Donovan Jackson was the man this year for Ohio State, going from left guard to left tackle. But Fryer's a guy that they trusted and relied on. And I think, whether it's, and I hate saying stuff like this, because again, we want all these guys to find and live that dream that everybody has. But, I do wonder if he's maybe the guy that knows a lot of what Justin Fry wants, and he's the guy that can come in and be part of that learning experience, if that makes sense, right? Like, yeah, and kind of help out, so to speak, and get everybody up to speed, and that nature. Because, like you said, and we're not talking about, the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. Like, that's not what we're saying. But the Cardinals have invested heavily along the offensive lines. And so Fryer theoretically would have to leapfrog Christian Jones, who was a 5th-round pick last year, Kelvin Beachum, who is the ageless wonder, and then to make this roster, because you don't keep a 5th tackle typically. Now, again, the guard situation, maybe, if they kept 10 offensive linemen and then only had 8 active on game days, as is the NFL rule, he could offer that, potential guard tackle flexibility. But Jake Curran has done that. And then obviously they drafted Hayden Connor out of Texas. So, the guard situation, he could kick in. I think he's kind of destined to be on the special team, the practice squad this year. And kind of as a Justin Fry disciple, somebody that they like enough to, like you said, give that guaranteed money to, but also to see if he can develop. Maybe that's the plan. Like, hey, maybe he's, and I know people kind of scoff at this, but you and I have talked about it every year, basically. Having that guard tackle flexibility and being the 8th lineman is actually a really good thing. Like, that's
how you make a career, even if you don't have to play, because when an offensive lineman gets hurt during a game, it's scary. You got to get through a game.
Yep. So, that's Fryer. And I like him. I think he's a nice player. I just, again, it's hard to see, barring injuries, him making the roster. And, there's still this, will they bring back Will Hernandez conversation that's out there. And that's something that, you and I will get into as the offseason goes along. I don't think that's off the table at all. I think that's one of those situations. It's like in July, if they're not satisfied with the development of Isaiah Adams, they check on Will and be like, hey, how's the rehab? Are you under 350 pounds? Because let's be honest, Will is a very large man. And so, like, hey, can you give it another year? Like the other thing we, never talk about with Will was he was going to be 31 this year. Like that's kind of the age when those offensive line types, especially the big ones, right, start to kind of have that fall off. So, yeah, I think Fryer is in their practice squad plans with an eye of like, hey, this may be a guy that's our 8th lineman down the road. And like you said, maybe not the Cardinals, but somebody can find a spot in the NFL as the 8th lineman.
Bryson Green, kid out of Wisconsin. He is big. I mean, he's 6'1", almost 6'2", 215. There isn't anything particularly noteworthy about him skill-wise. He had some production. He has long arms. He's athletic. Like his speed for 6'1", 207 is what he's listed at. 4'5", 440 is fine. It's not great, but he's got a really good vert. 39-inch, 131-inch broad jumps, and the short shuttle 4.36 and the 3-cone in 6.98. So there's some good explosiveness and quickness metrics there. But I mean, his best season was 36 catches and 584 yards in his second year, because he played at Oklahoma State for 2 years, and then for Wisconsin last year. He had a knee injury that held him out to 8 games last season.
And to be fair, to have better production at Oklahoma State instead of Wisconsin's not a shocking revelation, because Wisconsin doesn't produce wide receivers very often, right?
No,
so
they don't.
the surprisingly interesting thing, I guess is the best way to put it, about Bryson Green, that is maybe what you can have a question about more than anything, is he hasn't been a great run blocker in his career. So, in the Wisconsin offense, not a great run blocker. Coming to Arizona, a team that's going to be closer to the plus 50% side of running the ball. Interesting, but like you said, he has things that you can't coach, right? So maybe they look at him and go, hey, we can get him to be a better blocker with that physical, athletic profile. We can get him to be a better blocker because you can't teach, like you said, 6'2", 210 with that kind of explosiveness and change of direction. That being said, this really doesn't do a whole lot for me. I mean, he's redundantly redundant to me.
But I mean, they need someone in the receiver room. Like, they could do it. They need it, but it's of all the draft, like, there's nothing great. And like, if you look at the pre-draft rankings, Dane Brugler had him number 60 among the receiving groups.
Yeah.
So,
and again, because again, these guys have been extremely successful. They've hung around the league. So like, I don't mean this in a negative way, but like, I mean, can he even be Zach Pascal? Like, genuinely, could he? I mean, Pascal was an undrafted free agent, right? Like, hung around the league forever, still in the league, obviously. But we're talking, he had a couple really productive years, but like, outside of that, like, this is, that's kind of where you kind of look at him, Bryson Green, like, that's his upside. Because I mean, and again, like, no shot at Zach Pascal, but you're talking about a guy that's got 2,000 yards in 7 years in the NFL, right?
He did have 2 600-yard seasons.
Yep,
So
that's what the one question is. But of course, I think at that point, and I genuinely don't remember because I don't know Holt's information off the top of my head, if I'm being fair. I don't remember who his quarterback was then. Was that still Andrew Luck? Nope, that was Brissett. And yeah, so those were bad teams too, right? Which is kind of what I was wondering, but yeah.
So there is a third player of note, and not because of the guaranteed money, it's because of the designation they're using on him. So if you caught the roster moves, the Cardinals cut ties with Austrian tight end Bernhard Seikovits. Psycho, as he was known, spent 4 years on the Cardinals practice squad and offseason roster using the international exemption through the International Pathways program. Every team can now use one of those exemptions, I think, every single year. The Cardinals are using them on one of the rookie free agents. It is UConn tackle Valentin Sen, and he's Austrian as well. He played 3 years football in Austria before he played 5 years of college ball. Spent a year at Colorado, then 4 years at UConn, was their starting left tackle for 3 years. Interesting case, like you bring him in again. There's nothing that you're going to look at other than his experience playing a lot of left tackle. He played 41 games. He was the number 40 offensive tackle. He's 6'7".
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the most noteworthy thing, right? He's like incredibly tall,
but does not have tackle arms at 32 inches.
I know he's such a like that's such a wild thing, right? Like 6'7" but 32-inch arms, light, super light too, right? Like came in at 310, but played most of his career in the low 300s. You would look at him at UConn, and you'd be like, oh, are you the new power forward? More so than like
right,
the left tackle. And so, I don't. And again, nothing against Valentin Sen. I just don't have a whole lot of expectations. Interestingly, with both offensive lineman types that they brought in, right, including the third one we'll talk about, but like all much better run blockers than pass blockers.
Yeah. He does, like what Seth has brought up a few times over the last few years. He does come in with one athletic red flag, and that's hitting the 8.0 second three cone, which is less than ideal. We ran across that last year because you had Christian Jones, their 5th round pick, who has some good athletic traits, but then his three cone was over 8 seconds. Now, he did at his pro day bring that down to, I think it was 7.7 or something. So he got out of that.
Allegedly.
So he came out of that, but it was a mix of good athleticism with an athletic red flag. So we'll see moving forward. But again, because he's the international exemption, he's going to be on the practice squad. Pretty much. Which brings us, we've got 3 other guys. One is a tight end, Oscar Cardenas out of UTEP. I think it's UTEP. No, UTSA.
University of Texas San Antonio.
So, and he's 6'4", he's a traditional size tight end, 6'4", 265. He's got big hands. Oh, I forgot to mention about Bryson Green. Massive hands at 10 1/4 inches. About Bryson Green. That's bigger than DeAndre Hopkins. That's absurd. But I don't know. We'll see about that. There isn't anything athletic about Cardenas that is particularly noteworthy. 6'4", 265. That's what 75% of this tight ends in the NFL. He runs the 40 in the 4.8s. He's got adequate strength. He was a good college player, a good student athlete. And, he's known as a good inline blocker at the line of scrimmage, but down the field isn't less so. He played 65 games. He was their all-time leader among tight ends in catches, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. But if you look at that, apparently UTSA has not had a big history of productive tight ends because his 65 receptions, 1,100 receiving yards, and 9 touchdowns. And we've seen tight ends in college do that in a year. And that was
and he's just such a kind of like you said, throwback, old school plotting tight end, right? Like the thing with Cardenas is he blocks well enough, but he's not a great blocker, and he's not a special receiving tight end, but he does everything fine. And so, he's not Elijah Higgins as a receiver, and he's not Tip Ryman as a blocking athletic specimen. So he's going to fill that role until the season starts, and then he'll probably
probably not the practice squad. I mean, maybe the practice squad.
I mean, maybe they see him as like the Ryman like deep dive backup type guy.
Right. But, you need some guys on the practice squad, but like they had because they had Sykovitz, they always had an extra tight end on the practice squad anyway. And
I don't know if you mentioned this, Jess, but he's another. I think you guys went to high school together. He started in 2019. So
he played a long time. You can't say that. You can say that maybe when I'm like a decade older than you, Seth. I graduated from high school in the 1900s. So
yeah. Well, to be fair, I think the kid that was out of Miami, you guys went to high school together, right? The kid that's been around for 10 years now in college.
Yeah, that brings us to the another offensive lineman out of Florida State, Jeremiah Byers, another just big tackle.
Big.
And he started at UTEP. He started at UTEP. That's where I got the UTEP. He played there for 3 seasons and played 2 at Florida State. Another tackle.
It's always rough too, right? When you go from being on a team that's unbelievable, right, and then the next year they're terrible, and that was obviously Florida State in general, right? But Jeremiah Byers, you mentioned it, like to go from UTEP and then to come over and play on that Florida State team that had the injury that ultimately cost
playoff.
And who is their quarter? Jordan Travis's career, like he's had to retire, medically retire because he can't play. Like that, isn't that crazy to think? Like you go from UTEP and you're a starter at UTEP, like you're a good enough player at UTEP that you go to Florida State and you're on an undefeated team that gets penalized because your All-American quarterback gets injured in a gruesome injury. And then the next year you go 2-10, right? And so I mean Byers is an interesting one. Another guy that's been around for 6 years. And you just look at it. I mean, he's played 3,300 snaps. Just like that's just such an absurd number. But I like the kid. He's the best pass blocker of the group, but I mean, just the metrics, the numbers.
He's bare minimum. He's bare minimum when it comes to athletic traits.
Right. It doesn't line up for a guy that's going to be able to hang in the NFL. And again, it was a rough year at Florida State all around, but it was interesting to see, right, that a guy that looked draftable the year before playing with again, I mean, I know Travis was not an All-American, but an All-American level quarterback to come back this year and not play well with a guy that wasn't draftable in DJ Ugalele. It was a rough year for all the guys, and Byers was one of them. And you do feel bad that a bad year probably cost him a little bit of money, maybe being able to get drafted. And now I just don't see a path for Byers to be on even the practice squad at the based on
they've got so many bodies. They've got so many bodies right now, which is good for building a team. I would say it's really good for the Cardinals this year is that they have so much more talent overall, but like some of these stories, you're like, that'd be kind of good to see. Like obviously he's going to fit in the locker room. He earned the Bobby Bowden Leadership Award for Florida State. Those are all good things. So he's a good football character guy, good teammate. But yeah, we're probably we're gonna see him in the preseason with the deep threes in the preseason games, and probably struggling against those pass rushers, those back end pass rushers that are just like, I'm going to get a sack. And every team has them, because we've experienced them with the Cardinals, where you get these guys getting sacks in the second half, and you're like, why doesn't he make the team? Because he's beating third string tackles and doesn't stop the run or hold his or set the edge. But yeah, we'll probably see him there, which brings us to our final guy, a guy that some people are a little bit excited about. It's built like a fire, like Dane Brugler says, built like a fire hydrant. Defensive tackle Elijah Simmons out of Tennessee. He is a monster of a man at 6'1", 334 pounds. And I think he played heavier when he was at Tennessee, because his sports reference page says 350 pounds. And
he's beautiful. He's beautiful, Jess. He's beautiful.
He's immovable when he minds his leverage and lowers his center of gravity. However, his size, like he said, I think I read it, was that he flashes and it looks like a 10-car pileup. You can't move him. He's going to be 24 years old by the time he's 24 years old when it's training camp rolls around. And he played 830 total snaps in 6 years in college. So
wait, Jess, hold on. Josh Byers played 3,300 snaps, and this guy played 800.
Yes.
By the way, I'm not being funny. I love this guy, but like, he is basically a fossil, right? Like, he's basically like the ghost of nose tackle past. Jess, do you know that you and I and Elijah Simmons have the same amount of sacks in our college career?
that is the one thing. He has no pass rush ability pretty much at all. He is just an immovable object who would play first and second down in a traditional 3-4 defense. And I've heard some people like wonder, like, well, Dalvin Tomlinson, who's going to be their backup nose tackle? I'm like, they've got a couple of guys who can play nose tackle. Elijah Simmons not going to be that guy, but I could 100% see him landing on the practice squad. Say Tomlinson gets hurt or Bilal Nichols get hurt, so that they have a guy who can play that 2-down role, because they do. Like, honestly, the Cardinals the last 2 years with Nick Rawlis, they do tend to play with a traditional nose type situation. Is when Lecky Fotu, they're like, you're playing nose, you're going to play first and second down. And when they had Roy Lopez, they're going to play first and second down. And then as injuries happen, they move them around. But ideal scenario is, okay, you're going to play this position right here. And Simmons fits that role. But there's no, we wonder how they're going to keep all the guys that they already have. They've got Walter Nolan, and they're going to have to. They really only carry 6 off the defensive linemen all last year. They are 8 deep right now, and Simmons is not part of that 8 deep.
Right, and that's the thing is, we had lamented for what, 3, 4, maybe 5 years about this defensive line and the depth chart. I mean, remember, it's been since J.J. Watt was on this team that this defensive line offer really anything of any semblance of talent, and they've made a concerted effort this year. And so I think we see Elijah Simmons and we hearken back to last year and the year before and go, well, this guy could probably play,
like in the bad defensive lines of the past. Well, and if the injury bug keeps biting them the way the way that they do, that's another story. That's 100% a different story, because even last year when they signed Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols, we were okay, this is a bet. But once you knock off both of those guys and Darius Robinson gets hurt to start the year, you're like, and that this is where the situation is now. So their best two defensive linemen last season were LJ Collier and Dante Stills, and LJ Collier and Dante Stills are number 6, number 7, number 7, number 8 in terms of the depth chart right now. Like if you're going to assume that Walter Nolan's ahead of him, they are the absolute back of the rotation. They were the 2 best a year ago, but that's good. That's a good thing. It's a good problem to have, 100%. So those are the 6 undrafted rookies that the Cardinals signed. Again, we point out that there are 3 guys that you really should know in terms of roster making, and they won't make the roster. I don't think any of the undrafted guys will make the 53 this year. But keep an eye on Josh Fryer for the practice squad. Keep an eye on Valentin Zen for the practice squad, and also for the receiver Bryson Green. And coming up next with the Rise of Sierra podcast, the Best Our Cardinals Talk on the Web, let's talk a little bit about some betting odds for the Rookie of the Year award. That's coming up next on Rise of Sierra. We're back on the Rise of Sierra podcast, the Best Our Cardinals Talk on the Web, talking about some rookie odds. I've got the BetMGM stuff up. I actually used FanDuel the other day when I was writing that. I just think that none of them are paying us. But FanDuel's website is much easier to navigate in terms of finding bets compared to
100%. I mean, it's a reality.
I just had to scroll like a million times just to find the Rookie of the Years, and FanDuel has nice little tabs. They're like rookies division. They're like, oh, that would be so much better. We've got 2 favorites for Rookie of the Year: Ashton Jeanty and Cameron Ward. Given between the 2, who would you think is more likely to win it between the 2?
I always go quarterback. Because the reality of it is that it's hard for running backs to have enough of an impact over a quarterback. Now, that's not to say it can't happen, right?
Right.
It can, but quarterbacks just typically, whether it's Rookie of the Year, whether it's MVP, doesn't really matter, right? Quarterbacks can have above average years, while running backs have like incredible years. And
we can even go back to Kyler Murray's rookie year, because Josh Jacobs was great, but it was a landslide for Kyler Murray. We go to 2 years ago, Puka Nacua set records. CJ Stroud won it. And last year it was a battle between the quarterbacks. But if a rookie quarterback performs well for a rookie and does things that's hard, like what CJ Stroud did and what Jaden Daniels did, that's impossible. They won divisions, or they won their division. And Kyler Murray had several markers that were rookie records. When you do it at the quarterback position, it's really hard to do. And granted, the question is now, do you believe in Cameron Ward on the Tennessee Titans?
That's my one hesitation. But let's be fair, Jess. Do you believe in Ashton Jeanty on the Raiders? Like, I get that it's Pete Carroll, but it's hard.
Which means a running back's going to get hurt. That's what's going to happen, right? Because when he was with Seattle, every running back that he would roll with would eventually get hurt, which I hope doesn't happen to Ashton Jeanty. But that brings us to the other guy. But now both those guys are the favorites on BetMGM at plus 250. A super intriguing one, and name recognition. Travis Hunter, who's going to, as I saw it on Twitter today, I think he's going to major in offense and minor on defense, since he's walking for graduation apparently on Thursday before rookie minicamp. He's plus 600 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. It is hard for a receiver to do it. Like, if we look at some of the receiver numbers that we saw from the guys last year, between Ladd McConkey and Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors, and they didn't even sniff it. Granted, this year's quarterback group of rookies is you basically have Cam Ward is it. He's the only one really that you're going to consider, unless somehow Shedeur Sanders wins the starting job and then is really good. He's the only one to sniff that, because and I'll get to when we get to the defensive odds. It's going to be interesting because there's a couple of things that are really notable about who wins the award. But yeah, Genty's going to be, he's the easy one, but also you think Cam Ward, but like then you look at, is that Titans team going to be good enough for him to showcase anything?
Yeah, and that's always what the question becomes, right? Like, are they going to be able to get anything out of the quarterback? And I'm being completely honest when I tell you I don't even know what their depth chart looks like right now. So, like, I just always tend to, in these scenarios, default to a quarterback, but like I said, I don't know. Let's see here. Let's see who he's throwing to, Jess. But let's make a Calvin Ridley. He's not bad.
No, he's not bad.
Van Jefferson. He's not good.
No.
The corpse of Tyler Lockett's there. So, yeah, I mean, if he does anything, it'll be a miracle. So, yeah, I mean, you've got and Tony Pollard and Ty J. Spears at running back. Yeah, this is not a good team. So we'll see what happens, man. I mean,
good luck to Cam Ward. Good luck.
Yeah. So
good luck.
And then on the defensive side, I mean, this is a tougher one, I think. Here's what I'll say. Walter Nolan at plus 2,500. I wouldn't even touch it because I just don't know if there's enough snaps. We've talked about the lineman situation. Jordan Birch at plus 10,000. If you want to throw a buck on it to win, a little bit of, to win $100, why not? Right.
Here's a couple of stats of note, betting stats, or at least award numbers to note. The last defensive lineman to win Rookie of the Year was Aaron Donald. He had, I think, 9.5 sacks that year as a rookie. Yeah. And then in 2010, it was Ndamukong Suh who had 10 sacks. Now, we had Kobe Turner do it for the Rams, who had 9 or 9.5 2 years ago. But here's the other thing. There hasn't been a defensive rookie of the year drafted outside of the top 40 since I only know this name because of the Nintendo game Tecmo Super Bowl, and that's John Offerdahl, linebacker for the Dolphins in 1986, which means, like, sure, it'd be really fun to do that, but anybody outside the top 40, so that means it's highly unlikely that Walter Nolan can win it because he's a defensive tackle. 1, 2, he's just not going to get the playing time. He's not going to get the playing time. Will Johnson, drafted outside of the top 40. Also, he's going to be in the playing rotation. He's going to have to really, really impress because I likely, even if they trade Star Thomas, my guess is he will likely have the Max Melton role this year as the guy that doesn't start. So, Max is starting or Murph is starting, and then Johnson rotates in. And so it's going to be hard for him. And Jordan Birch, I mean, heck, that's going to be tough. Now, who do we think is going to win it? I mean, Abdul Carter's the favorite. Pass rush. It is a name game. It is a name game when it comes to Defensive Rookie of the Year, and it's usually flashy. Travis Hunter could do it. I don't think he's going to play enough to get it, but like the pass rushers, the 3 pass rushers, Abdul Carter, Jalen Walker, Michael Williams. If I had to pick one of the 3, I like Michael Williams because the value plus 1,000, because he's going to be playing opposite Nick Bosa, and kind of like how Jared Verse did his deal last year. Didn't have he had 4 sacks, but he had all sorts of pressures. I can see that being the case for Williams because he already had Byron Young. Jared Verse had Byron Young on the other side of the defense to be an impact pass rusher, just like Michael Williams has Nick Bosa on the other side. So in terms of probability and value, I like Michael Williams the best. But that makes me sad because that's from the 49ers, and he's the guy, honestly, that I wanted the Cardinals to draft.
Yeah, and the one, and I don't even see him listed, but the one that could be interesting because the other, and again, it's a name numbers game, right? Like it's always tough, but Cody Simon, if he ends up playing quite a bit, or maybe even just outright winning the starting linebacker job with Mac Wilson, you can rack up enough tackles, and if this defense improves like everybody assumes it will, right? Like you could make a case, but it's still so far-fetched. Like if Abdul Carter has 9 sacks, it's almost a lock, right? Like if so it makes it really difficult to find a way.
Yeah, it's well that and you look at he was drafted in the 4th round. Cody Simon actually, like if we were talking projected roles, he has the easiest route to a significant role as a rookie this year. Like he could legitimately start
100%. And we're not factoring in injuries, blah blah blah. We're just saying like outright winning a position.
Because no one's going to have like that's a stacked defensive tackle room. The cornerback room is full. So Will Johnson, Walter Johnson, pitcher of the Nationals in the 30s. Come on, Will Johnson, like he's got the talent to do it, but they've also got right now 4 cornerbacks that they played regularly, and they're still all on the team. You get Jordan Birch, who is going to be basically edge rusher 5 or 6. And then Cody Simon, he could start. Like, he could legitimately start because and I think they probably anticipate it's going to be Akeem Davis-Gaither who's going to start with Mac Wilson. I'm guessing that's the projection. Davis-Gaither's been mostly – he started 7 games last year when Logan Wilson got hurt, but he's been a special teams guy pretty much his entire career. So –
yeah, and it makes it tough, man. I mean, but we've seen this coaching staff in general come to this like, oh, this is this is what we do, and you're like, wait, what? Right? Like they come out and you're like, oh, this is apparently they're gonna start Kaiser White, right? That was back in Philly, and then apparently they're gonna start. Who did they start next to Kaiser? Josh Woods, right? Like they don't. How do we say it without it sounding bad? Like they don't value investment in the position. They think it can be coached up enough. And quite frankly, they've been right. Like when you look at what the Eagles have done, the one like higher draft pick was Nakobe Dean, and they replaced him and got an all-pro in journeyman Zach Bond. So it's like, agree, disagree, whatever. It's just, I don't know. It's always tough.
It is. Coming up next on the Rise of Zero podcast, Bizarre Cardinals Talking. Let's do the last little segment where we talk about we can look at the free agency, the roster, and they did make an addition to the roster as well. That's coming up next on Rise of Zero. We're back on the Rise of Zero podcast, Bizarre Cardinals Talk on the web. One odd roster move of note, other than they released a couple guys so they could add their undrafted rookies, but they signed it. For me, it was kind of an interesting move because they added a guy who's now the most experienced player in the room, and they signed Josiah DeGuara, formerly of the Green Bay Packers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I remember talking about him 5 years ago when we were leading up to the draft, because he was a pretty good tight end coming out of Cincinnati. He's not the traditional size, so he's on the smaller side. He's built more like Elijah Higgins, he's been a rotational guy, but in his career, as his offensive playing time has decreased, his special teams play has increased, and he's had 200 or more special team snaps in each of the last 3 years, which makes him a super intriguing guy for that tight end room, especially for tight end number 4, where you've got Travis Vokolek, because the Cardinals have carried 4 tight ends on the roster the last 2 years, but they only ever have 3 active on game days.
Right. And the other thing is that I've read that kind of makes sense, or sense is probably a strong word, but kind of says what their thought process might be is that he is really good on specials, and they've kind of made that a priority this year, right? Like it seems to be one of those things that they've prioritized this off season on top of improving the defensive line and whatnot. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's if you told me they signed a position on offense, tight end probably would have been like right before running back for me.
right. And it's like the odd thing is just like as experienced as he is, and that's not a bad thing at all. It'll be interesting to see how he, like, if he sticks. He is kind of at that point in his career. You know, he played out his full rookie contract. He got a 1-year deal with the Jags last year, and now if he's going to stick around in the NFL, he's probably going to bounce from team to team, playing special teams. But also might be the point where, all right, he kind of ages out for that. Like there's some guys, there's some players, and it's a young man's league. He's only 5 years into his NFL career, but once you find a role, unless you are one of the elite special teamers in the league, or like a Justin Bethel or guys like that, it's going to be, you hit that 5-year mark, and we're hitting, like we hit it with Dennis Gardeck. He hit 7 years, and the Cardinals have basically moved on. Granted, he tore his ACL, but they said, "We love you, Dennis, but we're done with you." Zeke Turner aged out of that special teams role for them a year ago, and then he actually got to get significant playing time on Detroit's roster at the end of last year. But now, so it'll be interesting. I don't think that fourth tight end spot's going to be interesting. But if he's really going to special teams, it would be hard to have him be inactive on game days. And they use three tight ends on their offense because Elijah Higgins, they love him. Tip Ryman, love him. And Trey McBride, he's the best in the NFL. So I like the move. It's just, but it isn't it for me. It's interesting is that they are adding experience on their roster. Now, granted, he's not like old, but they're making a marked effort to add more experience this year than they have in the past couple of years.
Yeah, and it seems like it's a culmination, right, of the last 2 years of like, hey, let's make sure that these positions are shored up before we go forward. I mean, it's super interesting. You think about it, right? 31 snaps his rookie year on offense, then up to 367, and then it's been a steady decline. 259, 196 is last year in Green Bay, and then only 86 snaps on offense last year with the Jags. And so you look at his just snap counts overall and like where he's playing, and yeah, it's just really in specials, right? Like,
yeah, he's the Zach Pascal of tight ends right now.
Exactly. I mean, you're talking about a dude that 68 snaps on snap coverage, 87 on kick return or kick coverage, 87 on kick return, 60 on punt return, punt coverage, 19 on punt return. He's not a. So they're bringing in a fourth tight end that they can trust on specials, and that makes sense, right?
It does. And then we bring to the part where, what are they going to do? Are there any more roster moves that are left? Are they going to address anything? And I think, like, one, if we look at some of the key players that they have not signed, one being Will Hernandez, another being Kaiser White, another being Dennis Gardeck, and even to a lesser extent, Jesse Luketa. One guy the door seems to be open, and that would be Will Hernandez. And I'm just we don't know where his knee situation is, but I will say this. Uniforms kind of matter, and that number 76 is still available. And what's notable about the fact that number 76 is available is that Hayden Connor wore 76 all through college, and they didn't just give it to him, which is a signal to me that a Hernandez signing is on the horizon at some point. We're probably looking like a July signing would make sense because that'll put him at, I think that'll put it right at 9 months after his injury. And so training camp, he should be about ready to start doing football work. But the other guys, Kaiser White, guess what? He's number 7. It's now Jacoby Brissett's. So pretty much, adios, Kaiser. We loved you, but you're done here. The same goes for Dennis Gardeck, who wore number 45. That now belongs to Michael Walker. No, that 45 belongs to the tight end out of UTSA, Cardinals. And then Laquetta, says 43, now belongs to Michael Walker, the linebacker that played for Washington last year that they signed as one of their free agent additions at inside linebacker. So it looks like that if one of their free agents is coming back, it'll be Will Hernandez. Do you think that they will add a receiver before camp?
Yeah, they just added the
Bryson Green.
Yeah, I've heard Keenan Allen bantered around. I think any veteran that could potentially like matter would probably be closer to like camp time. Like I don't see Keenan Allen necessarily wanting to do all the offseason stuff again, right?
Well, not if he's going to get paid near the league minimum. That would make sense. But honestly, I'm going to go because Kyler said this on his media interviews when he was promoting his softball game. And he said it in particular when he was on with Johnny and Bo on the PHNX Cardinals podcast. He said the wide receiver room is good. We don't make he thinks Michael Wilson is a guy who get 1,000 yards. He loves Dortch. He likes the guys on the roster that they got. Marv's going to be good. And like we've broken down before, the receivers that are left on the market are 30 plus. And 30 plus receivers usually fall off the deep end when it comes to production.
Yeah, and that was kind of my Keenan Allen thing when I read that article today. Did you see that article? I mean, it was terrible, so it doesn't matter. But when I read that article today, I was like, yeah, I mean, I get that he had 70 catches for 700 yards last year, but like, isn't that basically just asking him to take over for Trey McBride? Like, hey, we're just going to spam you short targets and you're not the athlete that McBride is now. So like, I don't know, like he's 33. I get it. 70 catches, 744 yards, 7 touchdowns. The year before, 108 catches for 1,243 yards, 7 touchdowns. But like you said, I mean, this is a dude that's been around since 2013. He's a like borderline Hall of Fame level wide receiver. But like it just, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me unless it's something late into the season.
Yeah.
And not into this, but like late into training camp, and they're like, Dorsey isn't going to cut it this year, or God forbid, Michael Wilson's down, something like that, right? Like, because here's the reality. There's nobody that is going to be better than Marvin Harrison, and if there is an injury to Marv, there's not anybody out there that you can get to replace Marv. So basically, you're saying, how do we upgrade 2 or 3, right? Like,
right.
That's basically what you're looking at.
And the truth is they really do like Michael Wilson. And he's got the perfect fit if you just have the production. Zay Jones should be fine. And who's I'm going to keep my eye on this year? Xavier Weaver. I think they like his potential. And if there's a guy to I'm not saying break out, but to be more productive than we would have imagined, it's him. Because he adds a speed element. And like people keep saying that they need speed. They got, honestly, their receiver room has speed. Their slowest guy is Greg Dortch. Their slowest guy is Greg Dortch in that receiver room. They have some speedy guys. Quez Watkins, very fast. They don't have like 4.29 guys. They're fast, like they're fast. That's Quez Watkins, and we can't count on Quez Watkins to do anything. He's not done much thus far. You don't expect him to suddenly be something he hasn't. But that other role that, got the Michael Wilson, you got the Marv. If Zay or Isaiah Weaver, both of those have and Zay Jones has that breakout speed. If he can be healthy this year, if Isaiah Weaver breaks like Xavier, yeah. It's Xavier. But he goes by Zay, and so I'm always like, he goes by Zay, and so it's like, oh, that. So Xavier Weaver is a guy to watch as camp approaches, because you could see that guy's role increase this year. So I honestly, if there's going to be a signing, I don't think they're going to go out and sign a receiver of any that's noteworthy really in any way. Will Hernandez would be the one, because I think on defense, their roster, they have more decisions than they can afford to make. They have tough decisions coming on defense.
The only spot on the defensive side of the ball that you look at and you go, I could see something, but I think they've made them, it would be off-ball linebacker.
Right.
They brought in
Keem Davis-Gaither, Michael Walker, and then they drafted Cody Simon. They're like, that's
right.
They're not going to do more than that. They've proven that over the last 2 years. They're not going to do more than that.
Right. It's like, go sign this guy. And you're like,
Devondre no, not Devondre Campbell. He's done. He's cooked.
But yeah, it's just, it's a time where you look at it and you see, offensive line, they could probably add, like you said, a guard, right? Wide receiver, that's why you, me, and everybody else can be like, oh yeah, they need to upgrade, but they're going to give Michael Wilson a chance to continue to grow. Whether we agree with it or not is just, that's neither here nor there. But they're gonna give him the shot. So,
all right, and with that, we will wrap up this edition of the Rise of Seaward podcast, the best star of Cardinals talk on the web. That's Seth Cox. I'm Jess Root. This is the Rise of Seaward podcast. Thanks for listening. As always, we'll be back again soon.
Thanks for listening to the latest edition of the Rise Up See Red podcast. Listen to previous episodes and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Audioboom, or many other podcast platforms so shows are delivered directly to your mobile device. Please give the show a 5-star rating and always support the sponsors who support the show. We'll be back soon for the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Rise up, Red Sea, be Red, See Red, and of course, Rise up, See Red.